What is going on, y'all? Welcome to the Joel Friday TV. Welcome to the show. A few announcements before we get started. Sorry, y'all. I'm scrambling here last minute to get all this stuff together. Few announcements before we get started. Hit that like button, smack it, lay the smack down, like, subscribe, and share button. Tell your people about the show so we get the subscribers up and a message out. Sorry for that little weird intro there. Pressed the wrong button. He black, messed it up. My bag. As you guys know, we are live Monday through Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Puncher.tv. And at any point during the show, you know what you can do. You can call in 888-775-3773, 888-775-3773, and we can get into whatever you're feeling like talking about. Oh, we can get into it. And if for whatever reason you can't call in, but you still have a question or comment, or you want to support the show, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Joel Friday TV and buy me a donut with a message. A donation in the form of a donut, right? Or go directly to the YouTube live chat, hit the super chat button, send your question or comments there. I'll read them live on air. And I appreciate it. And I'll read them. What's today? Today's Monday. Grace and Mercy Monday. Grace and Mercy Monday. What does that mean? That means we get into that faith and spirituality talk. We get into it. Grace and Mercy Monday. For those just tuning in for the first time, today we getting into the Grace and Mercy Jesus talk. Okay? But first, I got a little story I got for y'all. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. I got a little story for y'all. I got to tell you that. I got to tell you really quick. And then we'll get into the topic of today. Feminism uncovered. Feminism solved. We're going to get into that, what I mean by that, what that even means, and how to get free. Freer, right? But I got to tell you guys a little story, okay? So, Caroline decided that, or asked if we could buy a dog. I said, no, I don't like dogs. I don't like animals. No, I don't like animals. And she understood that, right? But at the same time, she also really still wanted a dog. And I was like, no, I don't want a dog. And then over time, she would ask for different things. Can I have a rabbit? I say, no, you can't. We can't get no rabbit. What about fish? No, you can't get no fish. What about a bird? No, you can't get no bird. What about a snake? No, you can't get no snake. And then she asked me, well, what about a turtle? And immediately, when she said turtle, I got a flashback of when I was younger and we used to have little turtles at home. And I was like, you know what? We can get a turtle. And as soon as I said it, she got excited, and then we got a turtle.
God dang it. I got me a critter. I got me a little critter. Hey, Pete.
So that was Pete. We got a little turtle. We named him Pete, and that was our little friend for a second. It was cool. They don't really do much but crawl around, but like he would try to run away. So when we would grab him to try to put him back in the cage, he would like run away. So that was kind of cute. And then we were like, okay, well, this is interesting. We got a turtle now. And then all of a sudden, I start coughing and I get a little, throat start acting weird, get a little sore throat. And I'm thinking, it's just a regular cold, nothing big. This is, I'm not, there's no relation to the turtle. This is just a cold, right? I've got a cold before. You know, I'm a sore throat. I mean, this is not new, right? So I don't think nothing of it because it's just like a regular cold. Boom. And I'm going about my day, and I'm fine too. I'm still at work. I'm still doing the shows. Like, it's not nothing major, nothing crazy. Like, it's just a little scratch in the throat followed by a little sniffles, right? So I'm like, I'm fine. And we playing with the turtle in the hand, right? Let the turtle crawl on the hand. It's all on the bed, right? The turtle and everything. And then I'm looking up online, like turtle, just getting a little information on the turtles. The turtle says online that little turtles are banned in California, right? They're illegal in California. And it's best not to bring them around little kids because they could have bacteria that can infect the kids. I was like, oh, it's interesting. Okay. All right, that's interesting. Does that mean all turtles? I'm like, nah, not little Pete. Yeah, all right. And then they say one of the things, and they were showing like certain symptoms that turtles that you could have if a turtle transmits like any type of bacteria to you. And I'm like, okay, I don't have those symptoms. We're good. Go to work. Turtles walk around the house. You know what I mean? Going around, treading his feet, all stepping all over the whole house. And then I come back home from work. Caroline's like, I don't feel good. I'm like, what's wrong with you? And she's like, I just got a little headache and I'm feeling nauseous. I like immediately I was like, we're getting rid of this turtle. We gotta get rid of the turtle. She's like, no, it's not that. It's not that. I was like, you never get sick. She never gets sick. That's what she says. She's never gotten sick that often, right? She rarely gets sick often. And all of a sudden, she's getting sick. And I'm like, you can't see that this is 2 and 2. And she's like, no, that's not it. You're just overthinking it. Not a big deal. She did not want to let go of this turtle, right? And mind you, I'm not sure for sure. I can't even still say to this day that that the sickness or these little symptoms were caused by this turtles, but my little gut instinct. So I said, look, I'm not sure if this is the case, but listen, if you want to keep the little turtle, that's on you. If you want to take that risk, that's on you. I ain't touching the turtle. I ain't looking at the turtle. And then she says, no, if you don't want the turtle, then I don't want the turtle either. And I was like, okay, bet. So we're gonna go to the beach and we're gonna dispose of this turtle. So we go to the beach.
Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me. Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me.
Okay. So that was little Pete. We let him go at the beach, right? So, but he wouldn't go, like, he wouldn't wash away. The shore kept bringing him back up. So I'm like, okay, I got to launch this boy. So I grabbed him, I picked him up, and I threw him in the beach, right? And then we go back to the sand where we had a little setup. We're just eating lunch, right? Eating a sandwich. And I'm looking, and I see him crawling back up. I'm like, That boy then came right back. The shore done washed him right back. So I'm like, okay, we got to throw this. So then I grabbed him again, but this time I'm like, all right, I got to chuck him far. So I grab him, throw him. He's like spinning in the air like this, like a football. I chucked him far. I was like, if he might have died in the air, I was thinking, right? So I chuck him. He's going far, flipping through the air, soaring, right? Long throw, lands in the water, and then we go back to eat lunch. I'm like, all right, we're good now. We're good. We're free from Pete. We're back to normal. Boom, right? Wash my hands, clean up. I don't want no disease. Next thing you know, some kids next to us, oh my God, we found a turtle. We found a turtle. Oh my God. The mom picks it up. I'm like, no. This story has extended a little bit longer than I planned it to, but I'm almost done here, right? I'm like, no, put that turtle down. And the mom's like, no, what's wrong? They thought they found the turtle, that it was a special thing. I was like, no, that turtle, we put it in the ocean because it might have bacteria. So you shouldn't let your kids touch it. Oh, okay. So I took the turtle back, and now we're stuck with him, right? I'm stuck with him. We put him back in the cage. I'm like, he won't die. The boy won't die, and he won't go away. So then there was this little sewage place, and we threw him in there, and he swam all in there. He was gone. So we got rid of him that way. But the moral of the story is this. Let you know me know, man. Man, let you know me know. Okay? Because they going to keep asking you, please. Let you know me know. Because when you change your mind and say yes, it almost killed the whole family. It almost killed this old little illegal turtle. This little illegal turtle almost killed the whole family. So let you know me know. All right. And everybody will be happy. All right. And he might still be alive, so there's no rest in peace. Don't put no rest in peace Pete in the chat. He ain't dead. We just let him go off in a little drainage area where it ain't affecting the world, it ain't affecting nobody else. He just off there. So that's where Pete is. So long live Pete. We wish him well. But he had to go. Bye. All right. Anyway, moving on. Guys, listen to me here. When I tell you that I solved feminism, I did. I solved it. Because I realized this. I'm going to get into it really quick. Now that I'm off the Pete story, I realize this is that feminism as we know it, right? And this is Grace and Mercy Monday, so we're going to connect it to the word, okay? We're going to make sense of it, right? Everything's spiritual, and today is the day to get spiritual. So as we know, feminism has, for years and years and years, has 50 plus years, feminism has been around. And the purpose of it, they say, is to fight for women's rights, right? But what it really is just what it has grown into, right? As just being the hatred of men, right? To destroy men, to try to, they say it's for the sake of equal rights and to be equal in the eyes of the law and all that stuff, but it's really to destroy men, right? And I was thinking that over time, well, why is that, right? Why is that the case? And there's unconscious hate and there's conscious hate. And what the feminists do, and use yourself as the ruler of what I'm going to say, right? Don't just think of a feminist in your mind as like, oh, that makes sense too. No, use yourself. Because ladies, you may have a little bit of feminist bone in your body. Men, we may have a little bit feminism in our body. Okay? Okay? Look at yourself as I explain this, right? But I realize it's because the ladies, they go about this because they hate the light that is in men. They hate the light that men represent, right? They hate that, right? And in a lot of ways, it's justifiable. They shouldn't hate, but it's justifiable. I can understand it, right? And I'll say that I can understand it because oftentimes we see, especially today, men are weak. We say that there's no pets in the house, but then we cave and then we let them have a pet. And yeah, men are just not strong, right? They cater to the women. They are subject to the women. They are angry. They're emotional, right? So they're not setting the pace. They're not setting the example. They're not displaying an example of what God is supposed to look at, what the lives look like. So the world goes out of control. So you can understand why the ladies are lost and hurt, right? Because they've been let down by men, but that's still not an excuse for this behavior. So there's conscious hate where there's feminists who consciously know that they despise men and they're trying to tear them down, right? For whatever reason, right? And then there's unconscious feminism hate where it's just teachings, right? They've just been indoctrinated by the world. They're just taught all these different things. Women should go out and work and be equal to men. Women need all this equal pay. Women need to do the same. Women are capable. So kids are just indoctrinated and they don't really have a hatred per se towards men, but that's all they know, right? They grew up in this society. But I realized that what the women, all women are truly looking for is just this one thing that they can have, but they're mistaken of how to get it, right? And I'm gonna explain that right now in like 5 seconds. First off, what do we see? Ladies becoming CEOs, right? They're jealous of the light. They see the light in men, they want the same thing. Why? The men get the glory, right? The men get the praise. The men have that energy, right? They're always full of energy, full of life, right? They do amazing things and they want that same thing. So what do? They go become CEOs. They go fight for equal pay. They become, what do you call those things? They have multiple sex partners, right? They play the game. They literally mimic. They're mimicking men, right? Hating men, but trying to be just like them, right? What is that? Great question. Is that what the ladies are not realizing, and maybe some of you guys in chat or some of you guys watching know this, right? Is that you can have all the same things that men have, right? Because that's what all the feminists want. They want whatever men have because it's working. We want the same thing. We want it too, right? Women can have that exact same thing too if they do one thing. And that one thing is not copying the men, but submitting to the men, right? You gotta love the men. You gotta submit to them because ladies come from men. Ladies were created for men, right? And I'm not saying you should submit to any man and just any man. That's not the point here, right? I'm not saying just go around submitting and that's the answer, but I'm saying that in general, the answer is you must submit to the man. You must return to the father, right? And because the men represent God, right? And of course, men have their issues too. Men are weak. Men have to overcome as well. But what men represent is God. They represent the light. So you cannot hate men, because when you hate men, you're hating your own self. You're turning yourself away from the light, because you must love men first in order to get the light. And here's the key, is that what the feminists really want is the light. They think it's status and success and masculinity and toughness and strength and security. None of that is what they're really looking for. What they're really looking for is the light, right? completeness, peace. And they can have that too, right? In their own role. They can't have all the cars and the fancy life and all that stuff, meaning like, I don't know, CEOs and stuff like that. But you can live a happy, peaceful, rewarding life in your role, though. In your role, the way you were designed. And you do that by first submitting to the man. You have to, ladies. You have to submit to the man, the ways of the man. And what I mean by that is you got to accept that you are not the man. And ladies can be just as happy, just as energetic, just as whatever, right? They're just do it in their own way. But the ladies don't want to stay home. They don't want to do all these things, right? Because they think ladies are taught that if you're getting married, stay at home means slave. Stay at home means you don't get to have no fun and all that stuff. They think that is what is demeaning to womanhood, is why can't I also go out there and do stuff? But it's not. That's not what you're looking for. You're not looking for stuff. What you're really looking for is love and a light. And you can do exactly that at home, right? Or some women may not get married, and that's fine too. But you still need to know your role as a woman and accept that, embrace that, and not try to be anything else, right? Right? You still have to love men. Even if you don't get married, you still got to love men. You still got to respect men. And not online, like pretend stuff. You got to really love men because they represent God. You have to. And it says here, 1 Corinthians 11:7. A man ought not to cover his head, since he is the image and glory of God, but woman is the glory of man. That's so true. And I first read that, I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? But it's so true, is that men are the glory of God. Women are the glory of men, right? That's why back in the day, women covered their head. Because when men went out and about, they were meant to be seen. They were meant to be noticed, because men had the authority to be influential to the world, but also be able to give the world what they needed, like light, love, but point to God, right? And give God the glory. They're designed to do that, right? They were meant to go out and stand on the mountaintops and be seen by the world to spread the message of God. They were created to do that, right? Women were not. They were not. And I'm not saying that you can't, but I'm just saying you can't do that and have peace, because that's why the women back in the day covered their head, because they weren't meant to be showcased to the world. They weren't meant to be lusted after in the world. No, they were meant to represent the man. They were meant to be represented as wives. They were meant to be respected, right? They were helpers, right? They were created as helpers. So all this stuff is just out of order. And people think that men too, us men and women think that things or status or success is what we're really looking for. And we can have all those things. We hear people say it all the time. We can have all those things in the world and it's still not going to change anything, right? Because what we're missing is peace within. What we're missing is God within. That's what we're missing. That's what we really want. And if we had that, I don't know if we would even want anything else, right? We would even desire success or desire any of these things. I don't know if he would. I can't say for sure. I'll let you know when I get there. But I've gotten little glimpses, and the glimpses have shown me that nothing is there's no want, because you're satisfied already. So the women can have all that the men have, but they must first submit to the man. And that's the key. And that's the, Lord, I'm going to chill because I'm going to go on to a rant. But, and now I'm going to get to your calls. But that's the very thing that's in the way. And that's why it's so destructive to hate men, right? Regardless of if they're, quote unquote, they're not deserving of it, right? But quote unquote, if you have a reason to, you think you have a reason to, regardless of that, you do yourself an injustice if you hate the man. And that's how Satan sets it up. He just wants you to hate the man, hate what he represents, and you'll never find God through that. You can't find God if you hate the man, if you hate the husband, if you hate the father. You cannot find God, because that is a woman's ticket. That is a woman's ticket. And it's not to say she can't have her own relationship with God too, but it's the same way God has to seek out. I mean, man has to seek out God, right? God passes down the wisdom to the man. The man passes down the wisdom to the woman. And if she knows what's best for her, she will accept that. Accept that. You should have never told that turtle story. You sound deranged. Oh, come on. You just mad I'm honest. No, I'm just playing. Shout out Lincoln Lewis. But anyway, I don't got much else about that. You guys get the point. Let me check the super chats real quick, and then I'll get to some calls. Let me see here. Ha ha ha. Let me see. Interesting stuff, huh? Interesting stuff. I'll come back to that. Let me go to Jaden out of California. Jaden, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
What's up, Joel?
How's it going, Jaden?
Yeah, long time no talk, bro. But I like this feminism topic because it's like you can apply it to yourself as well, and you can sort of see the evil inside of them by the way they act, right? So if you notice in feminism, right, all they talk about is career, get a career, be a career. It's like they never talk about the other things that men do, because they're trying to be men, right? Like we both know they're trying to act like men, right?
Yeah.
But they only focus on the career part. I was like, why do they only focus on the career when as men we're taught so many other things? The career is just like a means to an end for us to support our families, right? It's not like the main thing in our lives, right?
Yeah.
But what I realized is because the women are so self-centered and greedy, they project that onto the men, and so they're viewing the men like as though the men only care about their career. And so when they try to act like a man, that's how they act, is what they think men act like, which is career-driven, doesn't care about anyone else, egotistic, because that's them. You know what I mean? They're projecting themselves on the men.
Yeah.
And it's like too, when men, they try to be like a leader, right, of some sort, but they got it's like an ego leader, and so they think that being a leader just means yelling at people and having power. You know what I mean? That's because they're projecting their evil onto the leader that they're looking at, and they're like, oh, I want to be like that, so I got to act like, you know, how I think he's acting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's just a right. They're just, but see, the thing is that like it's rooted in a jealousy or rooted in a hatred, and you can't fake that stuff. You know what I mean? And that's the thing is you got to be honest with what's going on in order for you to overcome. And mimicking is not gonna do the job, but it'll get you the thrill. It'll get you to feel the feeling that you think you want, but it doesn't last. So they, you know, you always end up back in the closet.
That's so, you know, Joe, I got a funny story about that. My older brothers, they were like hoodlum. They're more black than I am, right? They're hood, right? Different dad.
Are you black?
I'm only a quarter black.
Oh, okay,
but they have a different dad than me, so they're like 75. But they were like older than me by like 10 years, so they had authority over me. Like my mom told me, hey, like you got to listen to your brothers when I'm gone, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes they would do stuff to get me angry, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was always a peaceful kid. I just wanted to stay to myself. But the moment I got angry at them, I just wanted to beat them. So I started doing push-ups in my room. I never done push-ups. I'm like 8 years old, right?
Yeah.
I started trying to become stronger than them. I saw they were fighting. I tried to become a better fighter than them. Even though I didn't want to fight at all, I was just so like jealous and angry at them that I wanted to be better than them and like show them what's what, right?
Yeah.
So I started speaking like a hoodlum. And I was like a nerd kid, bro. I wasn't even raised the same culture as them, even though we were from the same mom, right? But yeah, it's crazy. That's exactly what the feminists are doing. They're just trying their hardest. I don't even think the girls want to do this, these feminist girls, but they're just so driven by like hatred and the ego that it's forcing them to go work a 9 to 5, and they don't even want to do.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, but it's like in the mind, it's the idea of if I do this, I will have what I think I see. And you know, just not realizing that it's really love that they're looking for. And everybody at the end of the day, that you know, that's why it's not right of us to judge anybody really, because everybody really just lost, right? Just hurt, broken in some kind of way, and in that we do all kinds of crazy things. But it's up to us as an individual to take responsibility and overcome it. If we don't, you know, we got to let them suffer. But that's all they're really looking for is love, but they don't know that it's love, right? They think it's all these different things, so then they end up finding it, but it just does damage to the family, it does damage to the society, does damage to themselves,
Right.
and then they you know turn around and
kids.
teach it. Yeah, then you turn around and teach it to the kids. Now the kids do it, pick it up, but nobody's really satisfied. Nobody's really happy. So we just need to more examples to be out there. But go ahead.
It's like JLP said, you know, anger makes you stupid. Like, bro, if I was a woman and I could I get a scot-free card, don't have to work like a real job, I can just get married to some dude who'll provide for me and protect me. Like, all I got to do is cook and clean it. Are you serious? I would take that in a heartbeat, right?
I know.
But these women are working themselves literally into infertility.
Yeah.
The working women are way less fertile than non-working women.
Yeah.
And they're miserable. They're anxious because they can't get powerful without like the spirit of anger, right? They don't have the power from God. So they're anxious and angry. And it's so funny. They're literally destroying themselves.
Yeah.
And when they could be living a peaceful life just because they want to be like a man. Anger does make you stupid.
Well, and it's only because they're thinking in their mind, they're truly convinced in their mind that not that they're going to be miserable. They're not thinking that or they wouldn't do it. Is that they're convinced that once they make it to wherever they want to go, whatever status that is, they're going to be finally secure, finally happy, finally at peace. And so they strive for that. That's what they think they're getting, but they only find hell, and then they'll make excuses for it, or they'll be in denial about it, or whatever. But it keeps repeating itself. But they truly think that they're on the right pursuit. That's the only thing. So men just have to return, JD, at the end of the day. Men just have to return to what is right. And those who recognize that will follow that. They'll follow the light. And those who won't will just suffer and die. That's just what it really comes down to. But men have to start being the example again.
I agree. And then one more thing.
Yes, sir.
I think that, and this is why I was telling you, like, I would make a woman submit to me, right? I would make her do it, right?
Yeah.
Is because the woman's biggest problem in life, and this is men and women, right? But especially women, is like submitting, right? Because even if a man has an ego, like, he can submit to the military, right, or submit to his boss, like, but a woman just has such a hard time submitting to like anyone. It's her biggest ego. So actually, to help the woman, I would put her in positions where she has to submit, and then that's gonna force her to realize why she hates submitting so much, and it's gonna maybe open the ego. She's gonna be revealed the ego. You know what I mean?
What do you mean? Give me an example of how you would put her in a position to force her.
Like I told you last time, like if I was on a first date, right, and I went to her house, and I wouldn't go to her house on the first date, but if I did,
Yeah.
I'd be like, yo, give me some water, right?
Yeah.
It sounds corny, bro, but if you brought me the water, I'd be like, you got to present it to me while you're kneeling, right?
What?
And then if she likes me enough, she'll do it, but she might feel like conflict about it. And then I could be like, you see, that conflict is the devil inside of you. You know what I mean? But it's not for my benefit. It's for her benefit.
Right. And I know that you maybe think that's the proper way, but let me tell you, man, no, that ain't the way to do it. Because if she submits to you like that and she gets on her knee and does that, you found you a crazy one. Any girl that's about to go on her knee and do that to prove that she's submissive, you got bigger issues. You don't want to ask them to do that. I think, were you just joking or you're serious?
I mean, maybe that example is a little far-fetched, but I would do something like that, right?
Yeah,
little things.
You don't want to, but that's not an example of leading or an example of how a man should go about that kind of stuff. That's just kind of like immature stuff, silly stuff. And she's gonna, if she does that, then she's kind of crazy too. So you don't want to do that kind of stuff. You just want to be the example, be the light, and you'll see if she'll follow you or not. That's it. Something more realistic that I've always thought of is I would make her wear, like, in the Bible it says they have to wear like a head thingy. Yeah. When they go out. I would make her do that, because then that would really hurt her ego, right? And then I'd be like, yo, you can watch that. Well, so you think that you can beat the ladies into submission? Not beat them. I just said put the head thing on. Right, but I mean, not like physically beat them, but like tell them what to do until they get in line. You think that's going to work? No. The point is to make them see they have a problem with it, and then that will reveal the ego to them. Because, sometimes you need like an extreme ego reaction to realize you're possessed. You need an extreme ego reaction to realize you're possessed. Yeah, like you need to snap. You need to get so angry that you're like, whoa. Right, but you don't want to you don't want to test them in that way. That's not your job to try to expose them or test them. Because when you do that, and I'm speaking from experience, when you try to expose other, you will be exposed. And it's not a good feeling. And that's just not how you want to go about deciding if a person you want to marry or she's the right person. You will just know, man, you don't have to do anything. I never had to do anytime I came across some decent people, I never had to do anything. There was no test. I didn't have to test her. I didn't have to try to break her ego. No, it's that if you're the real deal and she sees that in you, her ego will die on its own. She'll just want to follow whatever you got going on if you're of love, right? But if you're not, then she's not. And it's going to cause problems. So I wouldn't test them, Jaden. I'm just saying, because, I had to be snapped out, or at least to realize I had an ego and the devil was in me. I had to, really snap, bro. I had to go freaking super beta. Super beta. Well, fair enough. That's why I was doing this. Well, I just wouldn't recommend, though, you do it in that way. But I know you're young, though, so you'll figure it out. But I just wouldn't recommend you test females like that, because you will be tested. And I ain't talking about by no female, but God will expose you, and you don't want that. Trust me. It'll humble you real quick. I want God to expose the ego. Oh, okay. Well, keep going. Keep going. Keep doing what you're doing.
All right.
Nah, fair enough, Jaden.
I'm not even really focused on girls right now, but
That's good.
if I ever do go on, I will.
All right,
I will
man.
let others.
Well, I always appreciate your calls regardless, and always good conversation, and thanks for calling me, Jaden. Call me again.
Draw.
All right, man.
Peace.
Have a good one. I wouldn't recommend that, but, you know, you got to bump your head when you're young. You got to do dumb things, and so you can get dumb results. And I understand that. So I am about to force him not to do it. You know? That's all here. But I tell you guys right now, I ain't never had to force anybody to do nothing. And it worked out in my benefit. And when I have, Lord, I paid the price. But live your own life. Let me go to HB out of Washington. HB, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
What's good, Joel? How's it going?
What's going on, HB? All is well.
I'm all right. Good. Great to hear. So, yeah, I said that I had a bit of insight on the prenuptial debate.
Yes, sir.
And I wanted to toss my ring in the hat on that matter.
Feel free.
So, I see where you guys are coming from when you say if you're of love, you won't need to get a prenup going into a relationship. And if you get a prenup, you're basically hedging your bets against the relationship failing.
Yep.
And all of that. I understand that. I would say that's a very Western way of thinking, but the culture I come from, my parents are from Ghana.
Okay.
There's no involvement of the government when it comes to divorce or anything like that. And the reason is because there's no need for that. You know, it's a very traditional country. The culture, specifically in Ghana we come from, is extraordinarily traditional. And as a result, like for example, somebody does get divorced. Like I have a family friend, really close family friend that, you know, I basically consider like an uncle.
Yeah.
And whenever he comes out to DC, you know, I take him around, you know, we go around the city and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But he always makes sure that he stops by at his former wife's parents' house. And when he's there, they extend to us all of the formalities of, you know, bringing us food, beverages, drinks, and they just sit and talk.
Okay.
And the reason is because in the culture, it doesn't matter like what happens between specific people. If I marry into a family and I demonstrate that I have good relationships towards the people in that family, I'm a responsible individual. Me and your daughter might not get along, but at the end of the day, you understand that I'm still a responsible person that can be relied upon. And in the event that I have your daughter's children, my children, you understand that as the grandparents, you still want to see your kids. And so you maintain that level of accountability to our relationship, but then also to your grandkids' relationship. So there's really no need for the government getting involved when the family makes sure that everybody's doing what they need to, and you already feel that sense of responsibility. So, like, from my perspective, it's like if I'm going into a relationship and I know somebody who has those kind of values, we can get a prenup because even if we divorce, my nature is to take care of you regardless. You see what I'm saying?
But the purpose of the prenup is that so she doesn't get your money. So why are you gonna sign it if you're already saying you're gonna take care of her regardless?
That's the point. Because if something happens, let's say for example, something happens, you go to the government and that potential temptation is on the table, then it becomes one of those little gray areas. But if she knows, okay, I can trust this guy, then there's no need to even have any doubt about signing the prenup to begin with.
But you don't need my point is that you don't need a prenup because a prenup in itself is casting doubt on your relationship. Shouldn't I have full faith? I should have full faith that it's gonna work out. Why would I cast doubt by getting a prenup just in case we don't? That's almost leaving room for the devil.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that thinking. But my point is, if you leave that door open, it leaves room for the devil. If you close that door, it also leaves room for the devil. So Either way,
No,
there's that idea.
closing the door does not leave room for the devil. If you
That's my
think you're
point. That's why you get the prenup.
no, that's why I'm saying you don't get the prenup, because the prenup is saying just in case, and this is just my opinion, right? Is
Yep.
if you don't get the prenup and you just have
Yep.
faith that it's gonna work out, that you
Right.
you guys will get it, you guys will have it figured out, then you'll never need a prenup. It's gonna work out.
Sure.
Isn't there power in the faith? Why are now we saying, oh, I do have faith, but just in case I will get a prenup, just in case she does flip on me, she changes up on me, and she's gonna leave and she gets half. That's doubt
No,
to me.
well, okay, I understand that level of thinking, but there is also a responsibility that every man has in order to make sure that he's doing what he's doing with the most informed mentality possible. It's like you don't put yourself in a position to where you can be taken advantage of, exploited, and if it happens, you chalk it up to, oh, well, I put all my faith in God. What you're supposed to do is have the most informed viewpoint.
Well, right there, HB is right there. You said, I should have put all my faith in God. Yeah, that's where you went wrong. That's where you were wrong.
No. You're missing my point here. You're missing my point here. What I'm saying is, like, so for example, I mean, I could bring out all kinds of different prophets, but there are multiple instances in the Bible where prophets could have acted in very reckless ways. And because they had prudence, they decided not to do that, and it was counted to them as wisdom.
Right.
Like, one of the examples is, like, this is a good example. So there's the story of the man of God and the quote-unquote old prophet. And this is when the kingdom of Israel was divided.
Quick, though, because I'm running out of time.
Yeah, I got you. I'll go really quickly. This is when the kingdom was divided between Rehoboam and Jeroboam after the death of Solomon. So the man of God was going to Jeroboam to say, hey, man, you guys had messed up. He was called by God. But God said, when you go to this guy, don't even, like, stay there for food or anything. Just go there, say what you need to say, and come back. So he goes, he does what he does, and everybody's trying to have him stay for food, stay the night, and all that sort of stuff. He says, no, I got to go. I'm leaving. So he leaves, and on the way, he comes across a guy who says that he's a prophet of God, too. And the prophet of God says, oh, God told me that you should come and stay with me before you sojourn back to your place. So he listens to this guy, and long story short, he ends up dying. And my point is, if you leave room for that, I'm going to put all my faith in everything God says, as opposed to exercising the prudence of knowing what I know.
What is knowing what you know? What is knowing what you know, though?
Knowing what you know is what's happening in the world, knowing that you're going into a deceptive, culture and all these different things could
you are right there, HB. You already put doubt. You already put doubt into your situation right there. Go knowing but listen. Knowing that society is what it is, knowing that the woman is the way she is, then I should prepare. No, what you're already doing is saying that I might find the wrong one. Because of that, I'm going to protect myself because society's messed up. And that's where the devil gets in, because you're already opening the door to the possibility that's because the society's messed up, you might get and that's where the door is. To me, is that if we're going to be all in, if we're going to get married, then we're not divorcing. If we're going to get married, we're not divorcing. And there's no negotiation of whether we're divorcing or not, or just what if she changes, what if I change. There's no negotiation in my head. We're not divorcing. And if I say that we are, I should get a prenup, then I'm already casting doubt, and it might happen. That's how I see it.
I see where you're coming from. But like I said, I come from a culture where, like, divorce is even in the lexicon. But
there are no buts. Ain't no but.
There is. There literally is. You can't put yourself in a precarious situation, and if it doesn't work out, say, okay, well,
it's not precarious.
There's no but. There's no buts.
It's not precarious because
either way, you're demonstrating love for your spouse. You're still taking care.
I understand.
That's my point.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you mean. I understand that you're trying. you're trying to make the best of both worlds, make sense, faith, and this prenup thing. But the thing is that I believe strongly that you
Yep.
can know that you're marrying the right person and that it's gonna last till death do you part, and you don't have to worry about a thing. And
I understand that too.
and there's no what if, there's no contract, there's no, you just do what you need to do. You got to go to court, do the court thing. You got to do in front of the reverend, does your thing. That's it.
Yep.
And it will last till death do you part. Without, I believe that you can know that, and I think the start of that is obviously getting to know yourself and knowing, letting it be added naturally. But secondly, is you believing that it'll last till death do you part, and that's the ticket there only, not a prenup, not none of that.
Okay, I understand your perspective, but I see the validity in both.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you calling in. We getting into that. Good conversation, man.
Yeah, just a little fun there.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man.
man.
Call me again.
Yep.
All right. Man, I'm so out of time. Does Joel beat puppies? What? Do what you want though. And we're going back and forth with you, but it ain't personal. We're just having fun and just talking and conversation as men, and that's fine. But do what you want. I don't think getting a prenup is wrong. I'm just telling you my belief about it. I just think it's doubt. But that's just my belief. Have your own belief. Do what you want. And it ain't wrong or right. It ain't that deep to be wrong or right. Just learn. But think about, food for thought, something to think about. American Anchor Baby coming in right now, y'all, in the next 5 minutes. Go to rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. You don't want to miss his show. Make sure you guys tune in. Also at 2 p.m., right after Nick's show, is a brand new episode of Punchy TV. We had a guest, Krishan the Dom, man. We got into some prenups. We got into Trump. We got women in politics. We got into anything you could think of, we got into it. So make sure you guys tune in at 2 p.m. today for Punchy TV, brand new episode. Don't miss it. I'll be back here tomorrow. We'll get into some more stuff. We'll see what happens. Wish little Pete well. He gone. All right, y'all. Until next time, I'll see you. Bye.